So, hey, welcome everyone. Really nice to see you here, so many. We were kind of expecting that, hey, let's try to at least get 30 people or something around that, but turned out really well. A lot of people joined, and even more, we're asking that can we look at this from online or see some recordings afterwards, and we have also online here. So welcome everyone who's joined online. And we will be recording these sessions and sharing those later on when we have them finished and ready. So, but again, this is the first Agile Data Engine community meeting ever. Hopefully not the last. That at least is the intention at the moment. And this is kind of a pre-event for the Helsinki Data Week that's coming in the October. Yeah. And we also have ADE Summit there, which is our annual main event. So if you haven't registered yet, feel free to register. Would be nice to see you there. And we have our keynote speaker who's been announced, Carlston Banj from CEO of Park, who's coming there to give the keynote. A few other matters. You obviously, quite many are already in our community in Slack, since we've been telling about this event also there. But if you are not, or your team members are not there, please spread the word, since it's going to be, and it is already, our main channel for spreading out the information, and also main channel for you to reach out to us and contact us, ask questions, and also talk together about using ADE. And then one more thing from here, we'd like to hear feedback from this event. You can give feedback from ADE, but especially about this event now would be really important for us. And there's going to be Lego bricks somewhere there. Later Lego bricks there that you can use to give easily some feedback. And then on the tables front of you, there's this buzzword bingo. And there's some words already there, and rest those you can fill in by yourself or use the word cloud next to it, select words from there. And we will give the first one who's getting, or actually first two ones who are getting the bingo, these backpacks. And then we will also later Arpoa. Come on, help me out. Lottery. Draw one lucky winner from those who give us the written feedback. The third backpack will go with the lottery. But the first two are we give out by those who shout out bingo. Yeah, we're getting in there. Sorry, Taha.
Can you explain what is bingo is?
Yeah. About bingo, it's either vertical line, horizontal line, or it can go also like a cross from corner to corner. Anyway, it's okay. Just one line. Shout out bingo, and we'll give you, and you can shout it out during the presentation. That's probably how it's going to happen anyway. And but we'll give this out later on. Yeah, we'll check those for sure. We have the recordings. You don't have something else? No. Not there. But yeah, then a few words about the program. Harri and Taha will start. Harri, our Chief Product Officer, and Taha, Solution Architect. They will give you a sneak peek about what's coming into ADE, what's there close behind the corner already. And then after that, we have Johanna Vainio showing now I have to check this out that I remember correct words. Automating common data load patterns. So those are the main substances for the effect. But then also remember it's a meetup. So there's drinks. You can take anything from those coolers. Please don't touch the fridge, but anything in the coolers are okay. And feel free to take those already if you want to. And there's coffee, water there, and bathrooms can be found on the left from that corridor there. What else? photography. That was one thing. We are taking photos here and probably using some of those in our social media or marketing. And it's a little hard to go through those afterwards, that who's in the photos and who didn't want to be there. So we take a little shortcut here, and we would like you to raise your hand if you don't want to be in the photograph. Then Matti will know that he'll try to limit you out from the photos. So please now raise your hand if you want to be kind of left out of the photos. Yeah, but they don't need to listen to them. Okay, what else? What else? Yeah, I think that's it. That's it.
Right. Hopefully online people can hear me, and nice to see you all here. Thanks for this opportunity to tell about the roadmap and unreleased features. Me and Taha will be presenting these, and let's go actually straight to the point, I would say. So presentation by me, and Taha will do the key highlight demos about the upcoming couple of key highlight demos about the upcoming features. This is not a complete list of the roadmap or about the currently developed features, a snapshot of some of the features only. And all the planned under development, private, public preview features and plans are subject to change. So we reserve the right for that. Because during the development, something might change during the quality assurance or preview with the current customers, might something change. But let's go straight to the point. So let's talk about the multi-tenant services. So actually this last week we deployed the new content for the notification events because we were deprecating the Grafana alerts in the end of the August, and there was some context missing, and some of the customers were needing those, and we deployed that, and even new event type workflow start was introduced. So this I communicated, or we communicated already to you, but just to recap that such thing has happened. We are also developing currently new event types for failed logging attempts and also for the deployment management actions. So you could then achieve Jira integration. For example, you get an event, something has been deployed to test or production, you could hook to the external API and retrieve the full commit list related to that deployment. But it is also for the audit use case, that who has done, when has done, what has done, demote, promote, deployment. And we will introduce this also as searchable dashboards in Insights, or searchable events in Insights, and also publish them under the external API for you to integrate in your backend systems. We have been developing this new multi-tenant user management for a while, quite long time behind the scenes, and it is currently in public preview for the new installations. And for the Insights preview customers, it is also there behind the scenes. So it enables us to develop multi-tenant applications first of all, but for you, the interest is of course in the role-based permissions that it is enabling us to implement to the applications nevertheless. And it will replace the current user management, and it will change a little bit how the federated ADE is used after that, but not going to details. But just to say that this will require migration from the single tenant user management, and those will be rolled one by one with all of you who are in the single tenant user management. The Insights continues in the private preview, and we have had 3 to 4 customers in the private preview and gotten very good feedback on the still quite minimal feature set, but we have implemented this user-defined tag-based and user-based groups for you to analyze your concepts that you use tags for, as filters, for example, and also on the teams, how you divide your teams and would like to follow up the KPIs per team. We have improved the content for load parallelism analysis, and DORA KPIs have been improved quite much. And we are introducing service status dashboard, and these are recent developments that we have been in past months releasing to the public preview, private preview customers. We'll require the new multi-tenant user management, and we are planning to go to public preview. And it looks like this. Currently, we have improved a little bit the styles and user experience, and there are screenshots from to get the idea that you can follow up, for example, the load parallelism, that where are your hotspots during the day. What we have been developing also is that end user admin UI. So now you need to ask from the support portal certain changes. This will introduce self-service system configuration as it should be in SaaS product. So main features are user and role management, deployment configurations, target database connection and test connection button, external API key management, and also the notification event channel configuration. So it is a considerable work that we are going through, and the private preview features we haven't not yet decided, but some of those at least will be there right away when we go to private preview. And it looks something like this, and Taha will be demonstrating a little bit further this feature. And we have been also busy implementing Ask ADE chatbot to improve the searching and asking experience from the documentation, and it's based on the ADE documentation, and we have tried to find a lightweight RAG LLM based implementation for that, and of course it is a technology that we could use for other use cases when we detect proper ones, and will require the new multi-tenant user management, and you could ask for private preview waitlist to test out that how well it answers to your questions and needs. Taha will also shortly demonstrate this feature. Something like that. And the SaaS architecture is not necessarily always too transparent to you, or what there is. You see the ADE, you see the designer deployment management and the runtimes, but there is considerable number of now multi-tenant services, but also the SaaS foundation behind the scenes serving you all the time. Then let's go to the single tenant services, so the designer, etc. So we have been developing new styles and UX improvements to refresh the product look and feel, and also detect areas for user experience improvements. And it is about, the first version will be about aligning the different applications into same user experience with the uniform style, but also with side menu bar having the links to all the places that we have. Dark mode, light mode switching is not in the scope currently, although we have been discussing about such possibility. So we will continue with the dark mode in the dark areas, current dark areas, and some of them will be then in the light mode, like the insights for the first version. And actually, why I raised this here is that it might come actually quite quickly to you to use. So target releases in October for the first version. Just quick screenshot that the side menu bar will be there, not anymore in the top, and also having these important links to the documentation, to Ask ADE Community Slack, etc. So that's the thing, and the look and feel is something like this. So it starts to be quite ready for the first version already. And then we are introducing, it's already in private preview, new entity import based on a source file feature. And this was a customer wish from, looking at you, from the ADE Summit last year, and of course I said that no, the SaaS instances, we are not going to touch and process any customer data. That's the clean cut that we have in our architecture, and this is no way possible. But in January, we actually come up with an idea how we could introduce something like this. And now user can upload the file to CSV JSON Parquet. The software will analyze the attribute names and the data types and the lengths. User can adjust those and import the entity. And data won't be processed at ADE SaaS instances, only in the user's browser, and quite considerable amount of data can be there. So if we are utilizing third-party software, top-notch software there. And it looks like something like this, and Taha will be demonstrating with the current look and feel also this feature. Then we have had opportunity to meet multiple of different kind of customers now when we are international and approaching new customerships. And it's not only data vault or whatever what we have been used to. It can be different kind of automation needs at the customer, and also what the feedback in the community has been that there should be a little bit better templating features. So the very first thing we have implemented, and it is in public preview, is some new variables to automate file loadings from Parquet files, or just to how to say, just that you can do the attribute mappings and refer to those in the load step with those variables, rather than hard coding the SQL for those attribute transformations. So something to look here, and I think Johanna will be demonstrating this after our session. And then we actually, when we showed those variables to our professional services, they came that, hey, but it would be nice that if there would be even these kind of variables, not specifically like this, but we interpret it like this. So this is next improvement to be released September, October, this kind of dynamic variables to push those templates a little bit further. But it's not enough. So in the community, you have been asking and a little bit criticizing that the current load logic templates will create these load steps when you create the load. So it will introduce a lots of maintenance, like hundreds of loads to be maintained manually. When you change your template, it doesn't reflect anymore to the loads currently. So we will introduce an option for the load logic templates that are they added when the new load is created, or are they generated during the deployment time, also the SQL code preview time. So this is the answer then to that. You could template really the load logic and entwine it to the entity type, and therefore you get in a sense the same feature that ADE supports with the current automation. Partly, I think Johanna will be also demonstrating this entity type specific automations. But that's not enough. So in addition, we will announce something more in ADE Summit related to this template framework improvements. So please join us there. And one thing that most of you have been wondering, why there is no authorization that anybody can do the production deployments. We have in development ready state to be in September, October release included the deployment management authorization. So it will support promoter, deployer, admin roles. You can define those per runtime, that what is required, and then the users need to have the role assigned. Of course, it is based on the new multi-tenant user management, so you need to be migrated to that in order to get that feature in use, but it's ready already from the development. And that's not enough, so we are actually now sketching under design new feature review request. So you have been asking the pull request feature. So this is our interpretation of it, still under design, lots of details to be discussed. But the idea is that you can just have the review feature, you can use it or not, but also you can configure the per runtime that is the review really required for the promotion to that runtime. So this is an answer to that requirement or need under design. So a little bit still something to do. And last but not least, before the Taha's demonstration, just saying that we are also going forward with the UX design and to save space from the top to refresh the load definition UIs, etc., etc. So we are working on those topics still after we release the new styles, the first version. But now it would be time for the sneak peek demo about, was it 3 different features that I did go through.
All right. So hi everyone, I'm Taha, and I'll be showing some of those features that Harri was talking about. And let's start with the entity import. So all of you are probably familiar with importing the source entity schemas using the CSV import, where you just, for example, get the schema from the source system information schema or something like that, and then import the CSV into ADE, and that creates your source entities. But now with this new feature, you can actually analyze the data files themselves, and you will get this import from data source into your package entity list. So you click on that, and then you basically choose a file here, and it supports JSON, CSV, and Parquet at the moment. So we can start, for example, with this JSON file, and it detects the type. The file can actually be packaged as well, like gzip or something. Then if it's a large file, you can limit the number of rows that it's going to sample, just so that you don't need to read the whole 10 gigabytes or whatever your file is. And actually it supports unnesting also for JSON. My file here doesn't have any nested stuff, but it would be able to detect from a nested level as well these attribute names and data types and so on. So let's try that. Then on the next step, you can set some things here, like what kind of an entity you're creating, probably metadata only source entity, give it a source system name and so on. And then in the attributes tab, you can see the attributes that it has detected from the file. And here you will actually be also able to make some changes to those if you like, and then rename attributes and whatever you want to do. And as you can see, it's also analyzing the file. So you'll see some statistics like minimum and maximum values, percentage of nulls and whatnot here. And it also determines the nullability of the attribute based on that, if you like. But those can be changed as well. Then basically you just go to the review step where you can confirm what you're doing, and that will then create the entity where you will find the attributes and so on. So that's pretty useful for especially cases where you don't have access to any source database where you would want to get that schema out of. I also had some other data types here, but it is pretty much the same. For example, this Parquet file gives you a bit different options here, perhaps, but then also reading the attribute names and data types. So that's the entity import feature. Then I'm moving on to the new admin user interface. So this is something now where you can actually then do configurations on your runtimes, on your connections to the target databases, on your users, without sending those support tickets to our support. So on the environments tab, you can see that it's listing the environments here, the runtime environments, and also the design. And here you can, for example, make changes to the deployment configurations. And then when you dive into the actual runtime environment, it will list you the target instances that this runtime is connected to. Typically, you might only have one target instance, which is your database, target database that ADE is operating. But it is possible to connect to multiple different databases, and some customers are actually doing that also. But this is our demo environment, so it has all of those different ones here. And here you can configure new database instances, select the type, give the information, and then create the new connection. And you can also edit the existing ones. Actually, this is quite nice because especially in the beginning of creating a new target instance connecting to the databases, it's often quite like you want it to be an iterative process because there's always something wrong and you want to change it quickly. So now you don't have to be sending back and forth those service tickets to us. You can just do it yourself here. Then, yeah, so sorry, I missed actually that. So you can define the package rules here as well. So package rule meaning which packages are deployed to this target instance. So usually you, for example, set some package name postfix that determines that this one goes to Databricks and this one goes somewhere else. Then below that, you'll see the external API keys. So this is another thing that you can do here. You can generate new ones, define the IP ranges where it can be called or used from. You can also set some validity dates here. So that's also something that you previously had to do in the support portal. Then moving back to the front page, you'll find the users here as well. So for those customers who don't use the Entra ID login at the moment, the only way to add new users was to send support requests to us. But now, after you get this, you can configure those here. And also, like Harri mentioned, the Entra ID users can do the configurations here. And also, this is the place where you manage those roles that have been given to the users. Okay, that's pretty much it about the admin UI. So then going to the last one that I will present, which is the Ask ADE chat bot. So here you can type those questions. So let's say, what is ADE, starting from the basics, and then it will answer you something. So you're probably all familiar with such tools by now. It's currently not as sophisticated as, let's say, ChatGPT, that it doesn't, you should read these limitations here, that it doesn't read the previous answers and so on. So it's mostly for helping you find things from the documentation, and it will give you the links to the documentation from the responses. So then when you ask something like, can I use run ID logic without notifying the run IDs? Let's see what it says. Yeah, so it pulls up the manifest run ID variable, which might be probably not familiar to that many people here, but anyway, someone has probably used it, so it knows those things as well. Then I also tested this, that quite a common question actually, that can I trigger Power BI report refresh after my DAG has finished? Let's see what it says. So it is actually giving quite a good answer to that as well, saying that you need to set up the notification events. So you get a notification, I guess in this case, probably to Azure event grid about your DAG finishing, and then you can build stuff on top of that, calling the Power BI API from some service that Azure provides. So again, giving you links as well to the documentation. Then if you ask something inappropriate, like when is pizza coming, it should not give you any answers. Yeah, you can only ask questions about ADE. But yeah, that was pretty much what I was planning to demonstrate. Do you have any questions regarding these features or what Harri has presented?
Context of configuration.
Harri can.
You could ask it stuff, but specifically about your own
Data, metadata solution.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So the question is that, are we planning to have this chatbot AI assistant for tenant-specific questions related to the solution of yours? And yeah, that's in the roadmap, that the technology stack that we have addressed here is in a sense actually looked after that kind of an use case. But first, the low-hanging fruit, but also meaningful. I would say that this is now when using it, it is much better that it compiles the answer rather than you checking the documentation where the search doesn't work that well.
Any other questions?
So what? Yeah.
So place your question. Yeah.
Which one?
First one. First question. What is ADE? What is?
What the
Agile data engine? Data management?
So,
okay. Oh, let's not push it too far yet. Yeah.
hey, by the way, about the entity import, if you are interested about it, please come to talk to us or send a message or give the feedback, and that can be actually enabled in the next maintenance window for the ones that are interested here.
So my name is Johanna. I'm working as a solutions architect at ADE. And the next subject is about common load patterns. Okay, almost. Great. So what do you think? Do common load patterns exist in data work? Or do we need to create everything from scratch every time we create a load? I believe quite many of you, at least I have been in a situation where I, for example, create a load to a stage. So I create a copy into statement from cloud storage to a data warehouse. And I, of course, know how the copy into statement looks like. But I don't always remember, should I refer to the attributes using the names of the attributes, or should I use the positions? And if I use positions, how do I write those to the copy into statement? Nor I always remember how do I use the location or add the file location to the copy into statement. So what I have done previously is that I have went to look a similar load. Then I have copied that load, come back to my new load, and then pasted the copy into statement there. Then I have started to modify it and written manually all the attributes, transformations, whatever there. And it's quite painful, but it's also very error prone. And it reveals that in our project, we haven't agreed together how to create the staging loads. Or if we have agreed those, we at least haven't created them so that they are reusable. So you can imagine when I create a load from scratch, and I think it's very good load, it's easy to read, and it comments itself. But when someone else from my project comes to check it, it's not that clear what it has. So it makes the maintenance hard when you don't know what to expect. It makes, for example, hard for new people to come to your project when the things are not done repeatable and not you don't know what to expect. Okay, so now let's check this picture. What kind of common load patterns do we find from this? First of all, we have the staging loads. And when checking the data, we actually have two different kind of staging loads. So the first one copies data from CSV format files, and the second one copies data from Parquet format files. Then we have loads to PSA layer, which means persistent staging area. And there is actually several ways to populate PSA layer. We don't go into that now, but if you are using PSA layer in your project, you should agree together how it is populated, so that you don't have many different patterns to PSA layer, for example. Then we have hub, satellite, and link loads. And these are very well automated in ADE already beforehand. So we most probably doesn't need to touch those. But if we want, we can add some additional logic there as well. Then we have the SCD2 load, which means, okay, total blackout, slowly, yeah, thank you. slowly changing dimension type 2, and slowly changing dimension type 6. And it is especially important to automate these loads because they contain more logic. There's again many ways to implement these patterns. And if you don't know what they mean, they are dimensions that contains history. So you don't only have the latest version of something, but you have the versions over time, and then you have the time when it has become valid and when the validity has ended, and so on. And then we have the fact load that contains lookups, 2 dimensions. So what features to use in ADE to enable this automation or to automate the load patterns? The features I'm going through are most probably familiar to many of you, but please listen carefully because there's a reason why I go through these things. And the first and maybe the most important feature is entity type. And the reason is that we can cater quite much in the entity type. We can add default attributes and transformation types to those attributes. But we can also attach templates to our entity types. Everyone who has used ADE has used entity types, and ADE has many ready-made entity types such as staging, links, hubs, facts, dimensions, and so on. But how many of you have used or have created your own entity type in your project? So here we have the bronze stage entity type, and it contains 5 default attributes. But in addition to those default attributes, it also contains transformation types to those attributes, for those attributes. And the values of the transformation types can be given using plain text, variables, SQL, or free marker templating language. So they are quite powerful. Also, when they are translated against the selected target database management system, which means that we can create transformation types that can be loaded to different databases. Here we have an example of source entity name and how it looks like when the target database machine is Databricks. Then we have another example, file path external, and how it looks like when the target database is again Databricks. So we have two different values here. The first one utilizes variables, and the second one utilizes Databricks specific metadata attribute. Then templates. So using templates, you can enable fully or semi-automated loads. And finally, the variables, which can be either user-defined or built-in variables. Now, when we create entity using this bronze stage entity type, we not only get the attributes created automatically, but the transformation types are added automatically as well. And one very common question is that why I need to map attributes if I use override queries. And the answer has been that it's important metadata, and you can query it out from ADE. But nowadays, much more maybe important answer for data engineers is that you can utilize those attribute mappings. You can use these variables that Harri mentioned in his presentation, so that ADE translates the variable and lists those attributes and their transformation types for us. And when we change the mappings, they are automatically changed to that translated query without us needing to go manually change the SQL query. And this is an example of built-in variable, but we have here also user-defined variable, which contains the location of the data. Then the example dataset and pipeline that code. I believe it was the second and the last Pingo, right? Great. So we are using these taxi data, source data, which contains taxi zones, rate code, and trip. And as end result, we are getting this slowly changing dimension type 2 taxi zone dimension and slowly changing dimension type 2 rate code dimension, and then the trip fact. I have created all of this beforehand because sometimes there are some kind of demo effects, maybe, and loaded data already beforehand. But now I will create again this pipeline that starts from taxi zone, so that we can see how to use those entity types, templates, variables, and so on. So let's get started. I have 4 packages here, one for staging entities, one for PSA entities, one for DV entities, and one for publish entities. And let's start from the staging. I could actually show the data lineage at first. And here we have the staging entities, the PSA entities, data vault entities, and finally the publish entities. Here we have 3 source entities, and I have created them using this import from data source functionality. I don't demo it now because Taha already did so. So let's not do duplicate demoing, but just to tell that it is used here. So then let's start creating taxi zone lookup staging entity. When I create entity, I select this bronze stage type. It will be table, so I'll add it here. Then I'll use different schema name so that I can use the same entity name. and let's create it. Now we have the 5 default attributes here. Let's create a load. And map the source entity I created using the new functionality. So it's this one. So here we have most of the default attributes mapped already, but I need to map this source system name. So let's add the name of the source system here, which is NY taxi zone. And finally, let's map the source attributes. Then when we go one step up, we can see that there's no default load steps yet. And the reason is that when creating that entity, we don't yet know what is the source data format. So here we need to select the right one. The right one is actually CSV, but let's check quickly how the Parquet template looks like. So the Parquet template looks like this. We added the attribute mappings, and then we refer those using this target entity attribute list with transform cast and names. And it's important to use this specific variable when copying data from Parquet file to Databricks, because if we would use the same that we are soon using with CSV, it wouldn't work. Then let's check how ADE translates all of this. So now we have all the attributes here. But let's remove this load step because the data is not in Parquet format, but in CSV format. I'll select the correct template. Then let's check that one. So now it has different variable, which ends with positions. And let's check how it looks like. So now instead of referring to those names of the attributes, we are actually referring to the positions of them. And now we have ready-made staging entity with staging load. I don't deploy these now because I have already created the entities. So now I just show how to create them. When I have created the staging entity, I want to create the PSA entity next. And for that, I'll go to the correct package, which is meant to PSA entities, and then create entity. And this time I select PSA, bronze PSA type. Then let's write the name of the entity, which is taxi zone. And let's use different schema to get this created. Let's go create the load. So we are loading data from the staging entity, which was taxi zone lookup. And then let's create the entity mapping. Where do we have it? It's here. And then we have most of the transformation types mapped already, but not all. So I have to fill in some of these missing mappings. Let's see, do I forget something? Then the DB ID. Let's check what ADE successed for me. And I'll select the location ID, which confidence is actually highest as expected. And still map the business key. And let's copy that from the hash key to use the same key. Now all the default attributes are mapped, but I still want to map, of course, these source attributes. And after the mapping, I don't need to do anything else. So we have already attached load template by default to this entity type, which creates the load we want. And the load inserts only the new rows and the changed rows. So this is what we got from only mapping the attributes. Then we have the data vault layer, but am I already running out of time? So should I skip the data vault layer and go straight to the publish layer? I think so, because it's much more interesting. The data vault layer is not that interesting at all. So now let's create a type 2 dimension. And we have ready-made entity types for both type 2 and type 6 dimensions. But let's select the type 2 dimension. And its name is taxi zone. And as you can see, it has the prefix and suffix attached automatically. And well, we can leave that schema there. Now let's create the entity mapping. So we will load the data from ADE and satellite taxi zone. I will first create entity mapping from the hub. So ADE taxi zone. And it's the first one. And then I'll change the type of this. And I'll change the type of this to be dependency. And it's important to do it to get the template work. Then I create another mapping, which is going to be the satellite mapping. And this is the right satellite. Great. And now I map the attributes only from the satellite. And because I have this short time, only 30 minutes, I have to go things through quite quickly. So don't worry if you don't get everything. I will publish some more material in our community and explain in more detail every step what we are doing. And also I will publish the templates. So don't worry if something goes too quickly. More mapping. So let's map the DV ID there. Then this ID needs to be unique for every row. And it can't be only the DV ID because we might have several rows for each DV ID in this dimension type. And that's why let's select, for example, the DV load time and the natural key, which is location ID. And then hash those values to create a unique ID. Then I'll map attribute to the valid from. And this attribute can be a system timestamp or timestamp coming from the data source. So whatever is the way you want to implement these slowly changing dimensions. I'll select this system timestamp now. Great. Let's check, did I remember everything? Well, no, the data is also important. So let's select map all mapped, but remove all the metadata attributes. Great. And now let's see how the ready-made load step looks like. And I hope it is not too small. Is it? Is it readable? No, no. Okay, let's try again. Is it readable now or still too small? Great, too small. Okay, let's try one more time. Okay. So now this is now an example of semi-automated load template. And right now, with these features, we are not always able to create fully automated load templates. But something what actually Harri mentioned about, we are going to publish something or tell more about something in ADE Summit. And that feature makes this templating even more powerful. And after that feature, this template can be fully automated. So now we have things here we can't automate, but in the future is possible. To check quickly what we have here, we have many different kind of variables, both user-defined and built-in variables, which either refer to the entity mappings or attribute mappings, sorry, or some other values. So most of this is ready-made and we don't need to touch almost anything. But here we sadly have one place that we have to edit. And it says that copy-paste the target entity list attributes here and replace valid to and validity status with the below rows. So let's go and copy those, for example, from this code preview button. I'll just go and copy paste it. Then I'll come back here. Let's paste it and then replace these rows. And please remember that in the future, you don't have to do this manual step. Sadly, right now you have to. But that's all we need to do manually. Then let's press save and check how this is translated by ADE. We have a CTE at first, then the merge statement that queries needed rows from the target data source and from the source table, and so on. Then let's check if I can connect to Databricks to show the data. I had some problems previously. I don't know what happened. Okay, now it should work. So my computer crashed, and after that this connection didn't work, but now it looks to be okay. Great. So about the rate code SCD6 table, I have here a query that queries version 4, and that version contains the first data file loaded into that table. Is it again too small, bigger, or is it visible, readable? Okay, great. And here we have only 6 rows. We have the rate code IDs here and the validity status. And all of these rows are valid because I have only loaded 1 file. But when we check the latest version after loaded 2 files, the data should look different. Yes, now we have 7 rows here. And let's order by rate code. And here we have 2 rows for rate code ID 5. And the first one here is not valid anymore, but the second row is valid. And how the type 6 dimension works is that it not only updates the validity timestamps, but it also updates the latest values to every row. So here we have the agreed fair in the description current field. Then when querying the trip data, the fact. Now I'm again using the older versions of the data to show the difference. So with the older version of the data, we can see that this location ID that is attached to these fact rows is valid. But when querying the latest data, the 264 location ID is not valid anymore. So just showing that the dimension loads work. Okay, that was pretty much all I had now. So thank you very much for listening. And if you have some questions, I think we don't have time for those, but you can ask later or send message to our community or so. So great, thank you.
Thanks for coming. So the program part is now over. There will be pizza, or is already pizza there. Plenty of that stuff, so get yourself enough and go and eat and enjoy the drinks also from those coolers. When you leave through that door and from the elevators, there's a little takeaway gift there from ADE, also some beanies. And also one request for those who who registered as a team, please contact Ville there right after this, before you go take a pizza. So those team registrants, go there and have a chat with Ville. Thank you.